what it's like to have a 200 IQ. Well, for one thing, even though your IQ is supposed to be something you're born with, it's really something you have to develop, at least partially out of a desperation to have some kind of credential. You know, if you're a little bit losery, as I have been at various times in my life, I wanted some, shiny thing to, well, really, I wanted to get laid or get a girlfriend, or at least have girls like me. And in the 80s, Playboy magazine ran a feature featuring the naked women of Mensa. And I quickly joined Mensa, not to meet the naked women of Mensa, but because I thought Playgirl magazine, which at the time I didn't realize was mostly for gay guys, I thought, well, they would now have to do the naked men of Mensa. And I would be and I'd been lifting weights, so I looked okay naked, and I'd be naked in Playgirl magazine, and women would see me, and I would be able to get a girlfriend. This was like one of a dozen plans I had to get a girlfriend, all of which were stupid. But I've worked really hard to develop my IQ. I've taken 40 super hard high IQ tests. When I was writing for TV and was told that, I was shitty every day, I could go home and work on an IQ test and eventually turn it in to get a score that made me feel good about myself. One thing about having a super high IQ is you're probably more likely than other people to pursue like weird objectives, find yourself in a time-wasting cul-de-sac. I trained myself to be the best ever catcher of fake IDs in bars. I mean, at one point, the average bouncer in the 80s who checks IDs at the door of a bar probably caught a third of the fake IDs that he saw. But I trained myself. I had 99% effectiveness at catching IDs. I was brutal. I had a whole mathematical model. I got fired from a place for being too tough on IDs. Because if you turn away too many, cute underage girls, that can affect business. I pursued a lawsuit against Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because they asked me a question where the correct answer wasn't among the 4 possible answers I had to choose from. And to pursue the lawsuit, I looked at 110,000 Who Wants to Be a Millionaire questions from close to 20 different countries to prove that they never asked a question like the one they asked me. And I wasted, a year or two on that ridiculous lawsuit. I mean, justified, but still ridiculous, because you don't win a game show lawsuit. Judges are like, fuck you, get out of here. I get obsessed with various things. OCD runs in my family. My dad used to carry 40 pens around in his suit jacket. 10 on each inside pocket, another 10 in each outside pocket, and the weight of the pens, because these were fancy pens, would have eventually just tear the jacket apart. He was a CPA with a 2-story building that got filled with more and more of the tax documents he saved. All of them arranged at right angles every place. So a lot of OCD there. And I have my own OCD where I haven't missed a day at the gym in 28 years, 5 months, 4 days. And for the past 5.5 years, I've gone to the gym 5 times a day. I've gone to 5 different gyms every day, except for 4 days out of the past 5.5 years where I've only gone to the gym 4 times because I fell asleep before I could make it to one more workout. I spent a lot of time wheel spinning and doing ridiculous shit. giving myself scars because I thought maybe chicks dug scars. But there are times when I find my, full mental abilities are kick in to like think about physics. And because I'm a little lazy, or a lot lazy, these times don't happen that often. Because it's like, being able to think productively about the physics and metaphysics of the world is a developed skill. Like everything else. Like, the strongest man in the world is not born the strongest man in the world. He has to spend, many hours a week, pushing around 10-foot truck tires and towing semis with his teeth and lifting up those 3-pound stones and, eating 6,500 calories a day. But the times I have managed to muster enough discipline to think about the structure of the world, insight hits me with such power that it's a great feeling. I think that I have legitimately new ideas about how the universe works. And in my laziness, I've decided that if I don't think about things for a while, and then I think about them, that somehow some of the thinking has done itself for me in the time I've taken off, which is just a justification for being a lazy asshole. But the times when I'm able to think about what goes on, about the structure of the universe and how we live in an information-based universe, and how consciousness might not be some magical, mystical thing, but might be a technical property of broadband information sharing in a huge, self-consistent, information-based structure. That is, that it's almost impossible to avoid consciousness developing when you have enough information being shared, not instantaneously, but at a nearly instantaneously in a broadband fashion among a bunch of subroutines. That overall system develops an awareness, a model of the world that feels super real. It's as if that system is aware of the world and of itself in the world, and that as-ifness is a convincing enough model of the world and of the being's existence within the world that it's effectively consciousness, without magic, without some mystical liquid that flows through that links the world of the mind to the material world. It's all material, and it's an emergent property of broadband information sharing. And thoughts about that, when they're effective, when I'm able to think effectively about that, that's a huge frickin' rush. And I'm glad to live in California, where it's sunny, and where there's a gym every mile and a half, and I can just go gym to gym to gym to gym, and lead a healthy-ish, sunny existence with a family where everybody else in the family is much more normal than I am. Where when I was a kid growing up, I saw some things that indicated that geniuses lived in this dark, gloomy world, these ratty little apartments stacked to the ceiling with piles of books, and the genius was kind of a scuttling little scholar bent over his scribblings in this gloomy world. And I'm glad I'm able to occasionally think genius thoughts in a sunny world with a normal family.